All right, we are live. I am trying to be really diligent about going live more often. It's one of the things that I promised myself and some accountability partners that I have. That was my task for the week. And so I decided to do this before I go to sleep. So I know for those of you on the East Coast, and I constantly work with people on the East Coast, y'all probably sleeping already. So but I wanted to, come here and talk about this one topic. And I get this question pretty often with couples in regards to bank accounts, whether it should be separate or joint, which one's right, which one's wrong. And like I said in the description. And so I want to talk about this. I'm going to try so hard not to make this 30 minutes. That is one of my things. And I was on a Zoom earlier about questions for teens, and something that one of the participants mentioned was that there was a study shown that our attention span is less than, I forgot what animal it was, but it's obviously gotten very, very short. And as we compete for virtual real estate, it totally makes sense. So I'm going to do my best to answer the question, but also give you, value, but not make it, a long dissertation or like as long as this, Lord of the Rings trilogy. So, but anyhow, just for those of you who are just hopping on and don't know me, I'm Jen Fontanilla. I am a certified money coach, author, and speaker, and I'm also the CEO and founder of Queen Up Life. And I'm just passionate about helping women build and create their ultimate life without worrying about money, so that they can gain clarity, hope, and confidence, as well as mastering their money and their mindset. So, do me a favor, if this is a topic, if you know a couple, you have a friend, and maybe if it's somebody that is single, hey, you can't not have enough information. Do me a favor, hit that share button or invite somebody to watch this with you. And yeah, I want to talk about this because I think, hey, Dre, Junie, Brad, thanks for joining me this evening. This is like almost like practically past my bedtime. I get up like at 4 something in the morning Pacific time. So, I think this is so important to talk about. Again, this is about should we get as a couple joint accounts or separate accounts? Because I know there's sometimes a stigma of like, oh, well, if you get separate, that means you're lying. And then you're going to create this whole environment of like, oh, we can hide financial lies and whatnot. And I can respect that. I understand that might be a thought, but I want to give you something to think about. So not only that, and I was reading this article earlier, what it gave me a different perspective on it. So with that said, I think at the same time, hey, Cheryl, hi out there. So one of the things that I think we need to consider is, I always say it depends. Whenever I have these questions about like, oh, what should we do? Well, I heard this, I read this. I have to say that I think everything is not a one size fit all. You always have to look at your own personal situation, and everything depends on your own situation. And so what do I mean by that? Because some people may feel like, hey, you know what? I need the joint account. I want to know, what's going on. And some people feel like, oh, you know what? I need my financial independence. And so I think it's important for you as a couple not to get so stuck into this template of where we were told we need to do this or we should do this. It's like you have to step back. Not everybody's situation is the same. And you have to sit down with your partner, your spouse, and ask each other, what's the best way we can handle this? And the way that I look at this is there should be both. That's my personal opinion. I think you need a combination of both. Just like I will not recommend somebody invest in one thing, or you can, only one type of insurance is the way to go. I think there's always exceptions. I think that you have to be open-minded to realizing there is a solution, and sometimes it may take multiple products. Sometimes it may take different strategies. So it is not a one-size-fit-all thing. So please understand that. So with that said, when I said it could take both, the ideal way that I see it working well is if you have both. So what that means is, one partner has their own separate account, the other partner has their own separate account, but you also have a joint account. Now, what do you do with this joint account, and what do you do with the separate ones? We're going to talk about that right now. Again, if you're joining me, drop in the chat somebody that needs to hear this and hit that share button, because I get this question often. So the more people, couples, anybody that is engaged or getting married, or even an existing couple, like it doesn't really matter what the situation is or how long they've been together. Please share this, because this question gets asked often. We're talking about, should you get a checking account or a savings account? Should they be joint or separate? So this is the thing that's important. When you do your spending plan, the budget, and I know you guys have heard me talk about that, you have to do a spending plan. And when you do that, you're going to be able to see what is going where. Because if you don't assign the dollar to a task, you know what happens? I don't know what happened. I'm getting paid, but all that money's gone already. And it's because when we don't assign a task for each dollar, it just disappears. Or you spend it and it doesn't go to where it's going. And this is why we are always talking about budgeting and a spending plan and why it's so important to do that. But when you have this joint, let's say, checking account, I think one of the biggest things that is so helpful to couples is that you decide, each of you, how much needs to be contributed. Now, we're not going to go into like, oh, it should be 50-50, because let's be real, not everybody makes the same amount of money. So let's say you have to discuss, well, what's fair? You can't expect somebody that makes, $40,000 to contribute $20,000 of their salary into this account, and then the other partner makes a 6-figure salary. It's just not even. So you have to come to an agreement of what is comfortable for both of you, and you also have to think about, this is what this joint account does. This is like the account that a separate one that you have designated just for the bills. And so when you contribute and you say, okay, this is how much we're going to each put into this account. This is the account that we're going to pay mortgage, utilities, rent. This is an idea. Again, I'm just giving you some kind of guideline. Again, you can fashion it and customize it, whatever works for you. If your plan is working, stick to it. Don't fix it if it's not broken. However, oftentimes there is a lot of disagreement. Sometimes I hear couples like, well, I thought you were paying for that. Well, this wasn't being taken care of. So it's really important that you both know what is supposed to be taken care of, what bills are supposed to be taken care of. So when you do your plan and you know what bills those are, then you know and you have an idea of what amount of monies from each side should be going into this joint account. Now, if your bills are on auto pay and everything is coming out of this joint account, this joint checking account, there should be no problem. So you're going to start eliminating a lot of arguments in terms of what should be paid. Oh, I didn't know that was coming up. So make sure that you understand that, hey, Tony, hey, Carl, and hi, Jocelyn. And so it's important to understand, if you do this and you do the plan, you're going to have things paid. There should be no skip bills. There should be no missed payments, all those types of things. And anytime you plan properly, you're going to help eliminate these arguments. So I'm going to also plug my book. If you want more topics, I talk about this thing in this book, Do Before I Do, which is helping couples have conversations about money to avoid fights and breakups and to create a blissful financial future. You can find it on Amazon or go to my website, dobeforeido.com. There, I did my plug. I didn't even say shameless, I just did it. So you have this joint account, okay? So let's talk about the separate stuff, because here's the thing. Let me back up. Here's the thing. If the things of the household and the family and everything are getting taken care of and the responsibilities are being taken care of, less arguments, everything's going smoothly accordingly to plan as much as possible, that's great. That's what we all want to aim for, that things are getting taken care of. Now, what do we do with the separate accounts? I've seen people say like, well, there's secrets and stuff. Like, you got bigger issues, and that's a communication issue if you're, having to worry about that stuff. But I think it's important to have separate accounts. And I want to read something to you in this article I read earlier. So this lady she used to work she was a chemical engineer. She decided to become a stay-at-home mom. She was married to a Google engineer. And she said, although we are a team, she continued, I'm always second guessing whether I should spend on even the simplest of indulgences. Because you all been there. You want to spend this thing, but let me continue. For example, when my back and hands were starting to kill me from having to rock my youngest to sleep for an hour each evening, all I wanted to do was get an hour-long massage. But instead of charging $120 on our joint credit card where he checks each line item, I decided to spend just $20 in cash on a chair massage at the mall. It's not the same thing. Because I was afraid he'd complain that he could easily give me a massage for free. And so, I share that because then it gets to the point where you're starting to micromanage every single line item. And that's where the arguments happen. And that's where people can start to feel like I'm losing my financial independence. This is nothing really to do with like, I want to lie, I want to cheat, I want to, do all these things. And you're like, oh, well, you don't know what what the other person's doing. But if you agreed to put an amount, if you already agreed to put into the joint account and everything's getting taken care of, I really truly believe that you each deserve to put set amount agreed upon in your own separate accounts, and how you use that money is up to you because the responsibilities are being taken care of. So I think that's the ideal situation. But here is another thing. I will add this. I talked about this too in the book. It was like one of the last chapters about money dates. It's so important to have money dates, and what that is it doesn't even have to be this incredibly like long drawn out thing where you're busting out the spreadsheets and scouring over Google spreadsheet. No, it's just a quick check-in. Hey, how are we doing? Is there anything that we need to talk about? Is there anything that we need to set aside for a future goal? Are the kids okay? Do we need to set some money aside for camp or uniforms and ballet lessons and whatever it is that they're into? That's what you do in your money dates. It's a quick check-in because too often we are not communicating. Too often we are not talking about what's going on in the financial household. And so when you get used to this, you start to look forward to it because when you have that communication about where the money's going, what do we have to look forward to? What are we supposed to be doing? It just eliminates so much confusion. It just basically at the end of the day, you just want to be on the same page. That's what it is. You just want to be on the same page. So, and then, too, when you have your separate accounts, you know what, if somebody has a set amount, like here's the thing, if you have a set amount that you budget for yourself for those, those little things that you want to get, your own discretionary fund that you're putting into your separate account, how you spend it is up to you. But once you hit that limit, you don't dig any further. You don't tap into other resources or other savings accounts. Like it's like you got to pay yourself your fun fund, okay? But again, at the same time, remember the joint account is where all the responsibilities are being taken care of. So that is my take on how you can organize it. I think it's important that you have both. Again, figure out with your partner what works best for you. The point is you have a system. You have a system. You agree on the amount that goes into the joint accounts. You agree that you don't argue and complain about why did you buy this? Because that's not fine. You were trying to treat yourself. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that again, I keep coming back to as long as the joint account was taking care of all the bills and responsibilities. The problem is when you spend money that should have gone to that account and you blew it on something else. This is why you do need a combination of all these different accounts because everything has its purpose. So I think this is a way for people and couples to smoothen out the bumps and the confusion and whatnot. So if there's any questions, drop it in the comments below. Hey, Michelle. Hi, Roxanne. Nice to see you guys here. So again, if there's anybody that you feel that this could help, hit that share button over there. That arrow should be available. And I'd love to hear your feedback on your own experiences. If, joint account has worked or, separate accounts has worked. There is no wrong answer. The only wrong answer is the one that hasn't been working for you. Because I know that everybody has their own system and way, but at the end of the day, the biggest thing that's so important is that you're communicating about the money, what's going on in your financial household, and that you are on the same page when it comes to taking care of things that you need to take care of, as well as working together towards achieving your financial goals. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me again. Have an amazing night. If you're watching this replay, type #replay, drop your comments and everything. And I want to make one more plug. This question also came from somebody that was listening to our new show with Dr. Summer Watson and I. It's the Life, Love, and Money show. Don't forget, I'm doing another plug. That is every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Facebook platform. And that's at 11:45. Yes, if you're going to go on Instagram, it's at 11 o'clock, and that is at Core Women. And that's the handle. So I'll put that in the description as well. All right, guys, have an amazing night. Take care. Bye. And thanks for joining me.